So you've done it. You've chosen to answer the Gods of Chaos's call to take up arms as a warrior of chaos. This isn't a choice made lightly, and is one that is a lot of fun. I personally run 2 different Old World armies currently, a Goblins army, and more importantly for this video, a Warriors of Chaos army. And I found that there's some major, not issues with the Warriors of Chaos army, but there's some stumbling blocks that if you're not careful, you're going to run into. So today we're going to be talking about 5 mistakes Warriors of Chaos players make and how to avoid them.
Ad mortem inimicus!
The first major stumbling block that I almost fell prey to is the 1-speed army. The Warriors of Chaos units look really, really cool. I wanted to do one that was Chaos Undivided, one for Nurgle, one for Tzeentch, one for Khorne, and one for Slaanesh, of all of the Warriors of Chaos and Chaos Knights. This isn't a fully fieldable, valid army, but that's what I wanted to do. And it was very, very tempting to run large chunks of 20 Warriors of Chaos and go in there fighting almost like the dwarves do, where I've got big chunky units and you're going to have to come and deal with me. And despite their high toughness and their incredible armor, if you embrace this fully with the Warriors of Chaos and maybe sprinkle in some Chaos Knights here and there, you're going to kind of miss the point. And you're going to end up stuck with units that you didn't really want in the fight. There's some potential for the Warriors of Chaos, but in reality, in that army, the Warriors of Chaos infantry is probably not your weakest unit, but your least successful when it comes to combat. Yes, they're chunky. Yes, they can take a beating. Yes, they can deal some damage. But when you're playing Warriors of Chaos, there's way cooler things you can use. Using cavalry tactics with Marauders and Chaos Knights and Chosen Chaos Knights is a lot of fun, and you can really rip apart enemies. Top of that, you have dragons for magic and sorcerers for magic, and there's a lot of magic that you can do as a disciple of chaos that no one else can. And that's one of the big things you're going to be missing if you go that 1-speed army. Now, especially if you're a new player, going the 1-speed army route can also make the game pretty boring. All you're going to be doing is moving big bricks of units around the table slowly, trying to hem in your opponents. And if you're fighting another specialty army like Bretonnia, who has a ton of cavalry, those units are just going to get picked apart and flanked left and right. Same with my Goblins army. My Goblins army is a horde army, so I'm moving big chunks of infantry and archers around. But I also have Spider Riders and a bunch of ranged weapons that can pick you apart at a distance, which is something the Warriors of Chaos don't have. Currently, in the army list, you can bring in the Hell Cannon from Chaos Dwarves and use that on the tabletop, but that's it for range, with the exception of the Marauders, who can throw spears. You really don't get much range at all, which means you've got to be in the attack quickly or using magic and other banners and things like that to dispel those arrows and projectiles, or you're just going to get picked apart. So I would recommend going with a good balance. Get the starter box. The starter box is a great start. You have some chariots, you have Chaos Knights, you have Warriors of Chaos. I would recommend at least getting 1 big brick of Warriors of Chaos. This big brick will allow you to protect a sorcerer or your Chaos Lord, although your Chaos Lord's way better in a chariot or on something. And having that brick does give you kind of a backline defense that you can use to screen objectives, and I know I just used 40k terms there, but to screen and protect your flanks and things like that. So having those bricks is not bad, but don't go all in on them. There's a lot more that you're going to be missing and needing if you play it right. The next big thing you may run into is in what I like to call in 40k, the World Eater Syndrome. This is the I want to smash things now strategy. We see this a lot in 40k, like I said, but we also see it with orcs and several other armies that's what they're designed to do. The Warriors of Chaos aren't as much. Don't get me wrong, you're going to have your Hulk Smash moments, and those moments are going to be a lot of fun. Chaos Knights are very good at shattering battle line, but sometimes shattering battle line may be a trap. I know a lot of good players, especially players like Cathay players, will often bring their battle line up as bait, trying to bring you in range of either their lanterns or their terracotta warriors or their dragons to utterly decimate you while you're stuck in engagement. And this is a major trap that Chaos Warriors fall into all the time. So making sure that you're strategically using your units is going to be hard as a Warrior of Chaos, but it's going to be essential to you surviving and winning your games. So making sure you're looking for the best possible charges and making sure that you're exploiting your opponent if they ever make a mistake is going to be crucial. You're going to need to play a lot more like Tzeentch than you are Khorne. And for a lot of people embracing the Warriors of Chaos, that can be a little hard. Especially when people are wanting to run mono-god armies, which is completely acceptable. It's not a bad idea at all. I've seen pictures of a lot of really cool ones where they run mono-god. And maybe modifying your playstyle to run that mono-god may be your better option. If you're running Khorne, I'd run a lot of Marauders, so you have screening forces as well to prevent yourself from being cornered or trapped when you're charging. There's a lot of really cool ways to play, and you can definitely go and find a lot of cool YouTube videos about that and learning how to play better. So I would definitely recommend doing that, and be careful when you're picking your charges and your combat moments, because while it may feel good and it may feel right, you're going to be missing out on a lot of really important things that could end up blowing up in your face later. But before we get to that, I want to talk about my new book, Legend of a Leatherneck. It's right there behind me. It just came out a few weeks ago, and if you're a fan of grimdark fantasy, it might be a good book for you. It's an urban fantasy about a U.S. Marine who has to try and stop the Celtic god of darkness in order to save Boston from his hordes of dark creatures. So, if you like that kind of stuff, make sure you go check that out. It's available on my website or pretty much anywhere books are sold. Now, let's get back to the list. The next thing that's going to be really hard for a new player is figuring out ensorcelled weapons. You have a lot of really cool, unique weapons that can be added to your characters during the list building stage. And for Warriors of Chaos, this is where you make your money. A lot of these weapons are where the power really lies for Warriors of Chaos, with unique abilities that let you cause additional combat bonuses, or cause poison damage, or rotting damage, or can defend you from arrows or magic. There's a lot of really cool things you can use on your units that may not be right for the unit you're trying to use them on. For example, one of the more common ensorcelled banners is the Banner of Swirling Wind. The Banner of Swirling Wind is a fantastic banner to have on your infantry, because if they become under attack by projectiles, the Banner of Swirling Wind lets you roll to see if they get in or not. But not only that, if the enemy unit's within range, it can toss those arrows back onto them. So making sure you have that on the right unit, for example, a brick of Warriors of Chaos guarding a sorcerer, you're going to have a lot more strength and durability when it comes to that brick. But you don't want to put that on a Marauders unit or a Knight of Chaos unit, because if you do, it's going to be wasting a banner that could be used somewhere else. On top of that, there's a lot of other banners that give charge bonuses to cavalry or specialty units that have all these different functions. So making those choices carefully is going to be a lot of your work. A lot of new players make the same mistake I did initially, choosing the highest pointed enchanted equipment or banners or things like that, assuming that they would be the best things possible. And in some cases that's true, in some cases it's not. You need to look at the abilities and compare them to the unit and how you want to play that unit. So picking each individual enchanted item may be a little bit difficult. It may take a little bit of time and may take a couple playthroughs before you get it right. But learning how to pick those is going to be key to surviving as a Warrior of Chaos. Just like enchanted items, getting your marks of chaos wrong can be absolutely destructive to your army as a whole. Running a monogod unit isn't a bad idea. Using a purely chaos undivided army, also not a bad idea. But making sure you put the right marks on the right units will make a difference in a battle. For example, the Mark of Khorne has a frenzy ability. This frenzy ability is a fantastic ability on a chunkier unit. So if I have a Chosen Knight of Khorne unit, or even just Chaos Knights with the Mark of Khorne on them, they're going to be able to slam into the side of an enemy unit with frenzy and decimate them. But wasting that frenzy on potentially, say, Warriors of Chaos brick that's not doing a lot of advancing is just going to be a waste. It's not going to be worth anyone's time at all. Same with a Mark of Zeech that dispels a lot of magic. A lot of your cavalry is not going to be under magic attack. They're just moving around too much and are in and out of range too much to really have to worry about that. There are exceptions. But putting that mark on a Warriors of Chaos brick when it's guarding a sorcerer is going to give you enhanced abilities to dispel and things like that that are going to protect that brick and give your sorcerer additional abilities as well. So getting that mark right is oftentimes one of the big magic tricks. Same with using it on bigger units as well, like your chariots and things like that. That mark will potentially make or break your entire game. So don't let it stress you out too much. Like I said, it's going to probably take a couple playthroughs to get the marks right and make sure you have them correct. I would recommend playing through at least a couple games before you paint them, because a lot of times you're going to want to paint your specific units in the colors that they're marked with. For example, I already have kind of a paint scheme planned out for my units. I haven't painted them yet, but I do have a big brick that's going to be guarding a sorcerer. So those Warriors of Chaos are going to be in blue and gold instead of the black and gold that you see normally with the Warriors of Chaos. Same with a cavalry unit that's going to be running Khorne or Slaanesh. They're going to be painted according to those colors because it looks way cooler and it makes it a lot more colorful. I'm not a huge fan of just the black and gold armies. While they do look kind of cool individually, it kind of makes them muddled, in my opinion, and I'm not a huge fan of it. That is a personal opinion. If you have a black and gold army, that's great. If you want to send me pictures too to prove me wrong, I also am willing to accept those. Let me know in the comments if you have those, or you can find me on social media and send them that way. I love seeing painted armies, and if you can change my mind, great. I'm happy to change my mind. So make sure you read through your arcane journals or your rule books or your compendiums to make sure you understand what the marks are and what they do before you get into battle, so you can apply them correctly. And like I said, getting a couple games in at your local game store or with your friends so that you can learn what the marks are and what they do and how they affect specific units is never a bad idea either. But just be aware, if you get it wrong, it can blow up in your face pretty bad. So make those changes and get out and play the game a little bit, and I think you guys are going to learn to enjoy it a lot. The final mistake I see on this list is one I see very, very commonly, not only in Warhammer the Old World, I see it in 40k all the time, and I see it in pretty much any game that has any type of tournament play, and that is being a Netlist newbie. Someone who goes out and finds a list online that was successful in tournament and tries to replicate it without understanding what it can do. One of the things I learned is there's very different play styles when it comes to competitive or to playing for fun. And sometimes the little nuances and tricks that competitive players will use in a tournament setting don't always apply well to those of us who are playing just for fun. On top of that, there's little nuances and tricks and combinations that most people who are playing casually don't even realize exist. Pairing certain types of units together, like I said, the most common one we see that people actually do understand is that big brick of Warriors of Chaos paired with a sorcerer, because they can play off of each other, give each other bonuses, as well as screen the sorcerer so he's harder to stop. But if you don't know that, or you're not taking advantage of that, you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities that a competitive list is going to have built into it. And you're going to end up hating the list you're playing, or getting super frustrated with your opponent or something like that, because your list isn't working the way that it worked competitively. So, like I said, your best options are start basic, learn the basic rules, and build up. A lot of times these Warriors of Chaos players who are winning at tournaments have been playing since before the end times. They know these armies forward and back and have been playing for a very, very long time. Once you get a little bit of a grasp on how they're playing and what they're doing and how the army works, it's not a bad idea to test out those things later and see if you can learn the tricks that they know so that you can exploit them later. And you can play with them in a way that you're going to enjoy as well. So that's a list of the major mistakes that I've seen and I've learned from myself. And I hope you guys have learned from this as well. Let me know in the comments below if you know of any other mistakes that Warriors of Chaos players make. I would love to hear it myself. I'm fairly new at it and I don't know it as well as I'd like, especially since I split my time between two separate armies. And don't forget to like and subscribe. We have a lot of cool videos coming that are going to be a lot more old world focused going forward, since that's what you guys really enjoy. If there's any topics you'd like me to cover or anything you'd like discussed on the channel, let me know in the comments below as well. And don't forget to check out my new book, Legend of a Leatherneck. It just recently came out and is available anywhere books are sold, but if you want a signed copy, go to my website. You can pick up a lot of cool merch, like the shirt I'm wearing right now, as well as Readers That Wargame merch as well. And I will see you guys in the next one.